tornado had just passed through one of the towns that we drove through. It was pretty intense.
Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Mama Dr. Jones, a board-certified ObGyn, a mom to 4, and it's everybody's favorite time of the month. Much better than that other time of the month where we review a famously entertaining episode of TLC's I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant and run it with educational commentary. This is a really good episode, lots of learning points, but it's also the first one I think that is based in extreme weather. This is season 4, episode 18, and it's called Baby in a Tornado. You are going to love this one. If you're new here and you'd like to subscribe, we would love to have you. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Let's jump into the video. Today's video is sponsored by KiwiCo, and we'll hear more about them in a moment.
On July 25th, 2007, a violent tornado tears through the Midwest. In the midst of the storm, Kayla is in an ambulance, about to give birth to a baby, and she had no idea she was pregnant.
I was shocked. I was surprised, and it was definitely surreal.
Are they just gonna give away the whole episode right out the gate? There was not even a build-up to that. They just told us what was happening.
9 months earlier, Kayla thought nothing of missing a period because she's always had an irregular cycle.
Generally, when I would get my period, it would be every 3 months, if not more, space in between.
Because of her erratic cycle, Kayla thinks that her chances of getting pregnant are slim, but she still uses birth control most of the time.
Irregular cycles certainly lower the chances of getting pregnant, but if you are sometimes having cycles, you are sometimes ovulating. And if you are sometimes using birth control and sometimes not using birth control around the time of ovulation, then you are sometimes at risk for pregnancy. Aside from that, going 3 months or more without having a period is definitely not normal, and this is something that needs to be brought up with your physician or advanced practice provider if it's happening to you. It can, in some situations, lead to overgrowth of the inside of the uterus, and it's something that we need to address. If your cycles are just further apart, you have 35 days or 40 days, that may be normal still, but going 3 months or more between cycles is definitely not normal.
That winter, Kayla and her boyfriend break up, and her best friend Nikki is right there to support her and cheer her up.
Kayla and I have been friends for about 7 or 8 years now.
Okay.
We're inseparable.
What's wrong?
We're like, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know, something just felt kind of weird. I was a little sick.
Excuse me.
I vomited a couple times. I assumed it was the flu.
Maybe I should change my typical spiel from if you're having sex with someone who can get you pregnant and something changes about your cycle, take a pregnancy test, to if you think you have the flu and you haven't had a period in the last 30 days, take a pregnancy test just to be sure.
Kayla starts a new job at a plastics factory where she regularly eats the free food from the company lunchroom.
I did like to eat cream cheese muffins, and they gave me heartburn. I never really had heartburn before, but I never really had a diet of cream cheese muffins either, so I stopped eating the cream cheese muffins.
Heartburn or gastroesophageal reflux is more common in pregnancy. This is because some of the hormones that are increased in pregnancy decrease how well the lower esophageal sphincter works. And when you do that, the acid can get from the stomach into the esophagus more easily. One of the common triggers for reflux is dairy. This is a little bit less known. People always tend to think of spicy foods or eating a lot or fried foods, and those all can be triggers as well. But dairy can also be a common trigger, and it's something I warn my patients about if they're struggling with reflux. But also, now she's not having periods, she's feeling sick, and now she's having reflux, which she's never had before, so take a test.
In the spring, Kayla leaves her job due to a leg injury.
I stepped in a hole and twisted my ankle.
In a cast, she stays home to allow her leg to heal. Kayla's mother, Robin, helps take care of her, and she notices Kayla's eating more than usual.
So you're telling me this person is having all those symptoms, injures their leg, goes to the doctor, presumably, to get a cast put on it, and hasn't had a period in months. Nobody thinks to run a pregnancy test at that point? I feel like most people just look at the ER from their car and they have a pregnancy test run on them. What is this? Who are these people that aren't running pregnancy tests on reproductive age people who haven't had periods? I don't understand. I feel like I can't keep my patients from getting a pregnancy test, even if they absolutely don't even need it at all. Like, all of my patients in same-sex relationships or my patients who have been menopausal for years still end up with pregnancy tests when they go to the doctor.
I did notice that she had gained a little weight, but explain that away by her not working.
By summer, Kayla has recovered from her injury, but on the night of July 24th, she gets what she thinks are menstrual cramps. Realizing she hasn't been keeping track of her irregular cycle, she can't remember the last time she had her period.
I was getting a little crampy, but I usually had pretty bad cramps, so it was not horribly abnormal, and I went to bed.
If your cycles are irregular, I would really strongly encourage you to keep track of them very closely using an app or calendar. And this is only one of the reasons, but the other reason is because if you're going more than 3 months without periods, we need to see you in the clinic. So keep track of your cycles regardless, but especially if they don't come on a regular basis.
Morning when I woke up, it was really bad. I took a pain reliever, and that did not help my cramps any.
Kayla deals with the pain for hours, but by afternoon, the cramps are getting worse. With her mom at work, Kayla is alone in the house. Terrified, she calls her best friend, Nikki. As they head for the local clinic, Kayla's pain is so severe that they ignore the ominous weather.
The combination of the wind and the humidity, it usually means we're probably gonna get a tornado.
It was definitely tornado weather.
She's the kind of friend you need with you if you're gonna go into labor during a tornado. That girl's like, yeah, when it's windy, it looks murky outside, weather's a little weird, it usually means a tornado's coming. No big deal, we can handle it. I grew up in a place with tornadoes, and I have never been that nonchalant about a tornado.
True or false? During pregnancy, an average woman's uterus expands to 100 times its normal volume. Your answer when we return.
Today's video is sponsored by the wonderful KiwiCo. If there is a child in your life who loves hands-on learning and projects, KiwiCo is perfect for them. Their monthly crates are designed by experts to teach STEAM topics like science, technology, engineering, math, and arts through hands-on learning and fun. My kids love these boxes. Wow! And as a science lover myself, I find them to be such a wonderful way for our kids to learn more at home and empower them to use their brains and learn in a way that they truly enjoy. Each crate comes with all the items needed for the project included, so there's no running to the store to get extra supplies, and they're completely customizable to the age of your child. Not only are they a great way to learn at home, but they also provide so much family fun time for us as well. I genuinely love KiwiCo, and so do my kids. I am so appreciative to have them as an ongoing sponsor on this channel. If you'd like to try out KiwiCo and support my channel in the process, you can get your first month's crate for free by going to kiwico.com/mdj or clicking on the link in the description box below. Now, let's get back to the video.
Your answer? False. The volume increases 1,000 times, from 4 milliliters to 4 liters when full term. Nikki calls Kayla's mother, who is at work 60 miles away, and asks her to meet them at the town's only clinic.
I'm on my way. I'm leaving right now.
I was in a panic.
3 minutes later, Kayla and Nikki arrive at the small medical clinic.
Doctor came and saw me pretty quickly, and he told me that he would have to run a blood test before he gave me any pain medication.
Now they want to check and see if she's pregnant before they give her pain meds. Now they didn't check before they casted her leg.
The doctor came in and said that I was pregnant.
You are pregnant.
I don't think I said anything to him when he told me because I was too shocked.
It had been a while since her and her boyfriend broke up, so she was thinking there wasn't a chance.
Put these on.
And he said, "This is your baby's heartbeat."
You hear that?
What? What is this? It is incredibly difficult for even the most skilled of people to hear a fetal heartbeat through a stethoscope, much less somebody who is in actual labor and severe pain. I hope they didn't really do that.
They didn't have a labor and delivery unit, and they didn't know how far along I was, so they had to get me out right away.
In spite of the dangerous weather, Kayla needs to be transported to the closest hospital, 2 hours away, where they can safely deliver the baby. As the ambulance prepares to leave for the risky drive, Kayla's mom finally reaches the clinic.
2 hours is a really long hospital transfer when you're in labor, even if it's not a tornado, but that is outrageous. I would be terrified.
Nikki gets in Robin's car to follow the ambulance. And outside, the weather has taken a turn for the worse. Raging winds reaching nearly 60 miles an hour, with a full-fledged tornado warning issued for the entire region. In these conditions, cars are at risk for being blown right off the road.
There's so much water underneath the tires, so the ambulance was sliding around in the water.
The skies were really dark, gray, turning black. A tornado had just passed through one of the towns that we drove through. It was pretty intense.
With the harrowing
Yeah, sounds like it. I mean, the way you describe it is not intense. Your voice doesn't sound like it was intense, but my words going into my ears sound like that would be intense. How do they always so calmly describe these situations that make me like incredibly anxious?
With the harrowing weather, the ambulance is forced to drive slowly. So the typically 2-hour drive is going on 3 hours. Still miles from the hospital, Kayla goes into active labor.
2 hours out.
It was crazy. The EMTs had never delivered a baby before.
How are you feeling, Dad?
They were pretty flustered.
Try not to push. Try not to push.
They kept telling me not to push.
It is not possible when you are actively in the process of delivering a baby to just not push. Your body is still going to push no matter what your brain is trying to tell it to do. That's an impossible request. In fact, the uterus itself is contracting and pushing the baby out. So even if she had like the most incredible control at that point at time of delivery, her uterus would still continue contracting and pushing the baby out. I'm sure they're just terrified because, as she stated, they've never delivered a baby. Now they're on the road to the hospital in the pouring rain. There's tornadoes around and she's actively delivering the first baby for them, but she's still gonna be pushed.
I was worried if we were going to make it to the hospital before I was...
Doesn't sound like it.
As her mother Robin and best friend Nikki follow behind the ambulance, Kayla is inside with EMTs that have never delivered a baby before.
It was extremely, extremely painful.
Do you think they told her that, like, before she delivered? Wouldn't that be the last thing that you would want your EMT team to tell you? By the way, I know that there's a really good chance this baby's coming, you know, in the ambulance, tornado, rain, really unsafe road conditions. I just needed to let you know one thing real quick. Never done this before, so, you know, be patient with me. I'm gonna do my best. Maybe they should have just kept that to themselves.
Really painful. I had never felt anything like that before.
Oh my God.
Labor?
I felt pressure. I told him I think the baby's coming.
She's crowning.
Your baby's coming out, all right? I need you to push.
She's crowning.
She's crowning.
I need you to push.
I need you to push.
I love the acting in these. I love them. That is the right answer, by the way. If she gets to that point, no matter what you do, that baby's coming out. So you might as well let mom actively be involved in the delivery instead of screaming at her to stop and have her push and get the baby out so she'll feel better.
Now,
The EMTs were worried about delivering their first baby in an ambulance.
give me a push.
The pain was so bad. And I could hear the EMTs talking about complications, which was scary.
Kayla pushes for just 3 minutes, and the baby emerges, still and quiet.
Okay.
Did her water ever break? Because they don't ever discuss her water breaking, but that baby that just came out definitely is not in caul or wrapped in the amniotic sac still.
It happened very quickly. They cut the cord and they told me I had a girl. She did not cry right away.
Isn't she supposed to cry?
They didn't tell me if she was all right or anything.
They say the baby comes out still and not crying.
And the baby emerges, still and quiet.
Okay.
This is always something that kind of drives me bonkers in these stories. Babies don't always come out screaming. Give them a second. They're a little stunned. They've come through a very tight squeeze into a very cold environment, and now they have to learn how to breathe. They usually will perk up and start crying and breathing, and it will be fine. I hate it when they say things like this in these videos because I think it makes my patients more nervous. They expect the baby to come out and just immediately scream, and I would say most of the time, that's not the case. Some babies take longer than others, and then at some point it does become concerning. But if a baby doesn't cry immediately when it comes out, it is not ominous.
I was worried about everything because I had no prenatal care.
We do the best we can with the information that we have. If you've ever watched any of these reaction videos from me, you know they almost always say that, and I almost always say you have to give yourself permission not to feel guilty about the fact that you didn't know. Of course, we should figure out ways to make sure that this doesn't happen and decrease that, which is why I do these videos and talk about points where maybe we should have considered taking a test or finding out. But at the end of the day, You didn't purposefully not get prenatal care. You didn't know you needed it at the time that you did. Also, as I say in a lot of these episodes, if you happen to be somewhere delivering a baby, it's always the best option once baby is born to put it skin to skin, dry it off. You can leave the cord connected. It's never an emergency to cut the cord. In fact, it's probably better if you don't immediately cut the cord. Dry it off, suction the mouth, try to get it perked up and crying. But skin to skin is where baby is going to be the warmest and where it will start to get accustomed to being out in the real world a little bit quicker. Now, in this situation, they're in an ambulance. The weather is bad. I'm sure there were some concerns about, can this person who just had a baby with no anesthesia and didn't know they were pregnant in the process actually safely hold the baby without dropping it? And I can see that that might be more of a concern in this situation, but just in general, skin to skin first is always the best option.
The ambulance finally makes it to the hospital.
As soon as we got to the hospital, they took her away right away. Nobody was telling me anything.
Taking her for baby.
While doctors examine the baby, Kayla is cleared of any complications and is moved to recovery, where she waits for news.
I can't imagine how terrifying that would be when, all of this is happening in horrible weather. You get to the hospital, they take the baby. You haven't even seen if it started breathing, presumably. I mean, they didn't mention that after it was born, it breathed at all. And certainly at that length of time, it becomes concerning. And she also has, these worries in the back of her head about not getting prenatal care. I'm sure this was terrifying and traumatic and horrible.
She came in a little while afterwards.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
And told me that everything was fine.
Look at her.
And that she was healthy. She was 6 pounds, 13 and a half ounces, and 19 and a half inches long. She was crying, and it was definitely surreal. It was an amazing moment.
I think that's the best way I've ever heard anybody describe this. I would imagine that would be extremely surreal. Don't know you're pregnant, severe pain, think you're dying, call an ambulance, there's a tornado, the weather is terrible. Also, the EMTs are like, oh yeah, by the way, we've never done this. Deliver the baby that you didn't even know a few hours ago was in there. And then it shows up in your hospital room healthy and everybody's fine. Surreal would be a very good way to describe that. I think I would feel like I had just woken up from a dream.
In the storm, Kayla's mother Robin and best friend Nikki finally make it the last few miles to the hospital. When they arrive, they are unaware that Kayla has already delivered a healthy, full-term baby girl.
We walked in the room and her little bassinet was there and she was crying.
It was a really big relief when we finally realized that everything was okay.
Kayla and her new baby Rihanna get an outpouring of gifts from family and friends. But the bigger adjustment comes from Kayla herself.
I just got out of school, and I couldn't imagine having a baby to take care of at 20 years old.
I don't think she had the chance to get the idea wrapped around her head before she was already a mom.
Yeah, I'd say so. I would say she probably didn't. Most of us need more than, an hour of being in labor.
Today, Rihanna is 3 years old. She and her mom still live with Kayla's mother, and Kayla has decided to go back to school.
I like being a mom. I get to learn something new every day, and it's just a great experience.
What a sweet, sweet, wonderful story with a happy ending. I'm so glad a tornado did not wipe them off the road in the process of delivering their first baby in an ambulance. If you're new and you'd like to subscribe, we would love to have you. If you want to watch another Didn't Know I Was Pregnant reaction video, I will link a playlist right over here, and I will see you next Monday.